Morning and a good Sunday morning to all of you out there. We have crossed the threshold of 1,000 subscribers. My mind is blown. All right. Hey, by the way, this is Henry. Henry here decided he'd like to be in today's video because I'm going to tell you about a dream that I had a couple of days ago. And what was it? This Henry, Henry has starred in many videos. You just haven't seen him. He's got a great singing voice, and sometimes you all have heard that. Anyway, Zoom lessons. Let's talk about that. Still at a discount for the month of July. DGM-1 is your discount code. DGM-1, and we'll take care of you. And I'd like you to reach out for more information to me at davegoodssax@gmail.com. davegoodssax@gmail.com. All right, back to that dream. So the harmonica player in my band had a heart attack. None of us are young guys. We're all 60s, 70s, and he might have been the elder gentleman in the band. And he suffered a heart attack and never left the ICU. A couple of nights ago, I had a dream, and he came to me in my dream. Dreams are kind of weird, right? But in the dream, it was him, but a younger, stronger, surfer-looking guy, tanned. He was built, unlike the little 77-year-old frail little fella that would come and sit in on the gigs. And when I say harmonica to you, I imagine right now you're already thinking a blues guy, a guy that wanks away and just doesn't know when to take the damn thing out of his mouth. That was not this guy. This gentleman worked on television shows. He played with an absolute astonishing list of A-listers, and I was always so grateful that he was willing to drive down from LA or northern San Diego County or wherever he was at the time and sit in with any band of mine. And there have been many of them over the years, right? And he worked with my students, my little fellas, the young women and men who come to the studio here to learn how to improvise. He helped them all. He helped everybody in the band with his ideas and what he taught us. You'll excuse me. This is a hard one. I know. Thank you, Henry, for your moral support. In the dream, he came up to me. I was sitting out in a crowd, and he came to me in the dream, and like I said, he was a suntanned and healthy version of his old self. And he talked to me, and he described the massive heart attack that he'd had, and held his chest and showed me where it had happened. And then he said some things that took me a while to decipher. All right. Well, I journaled and I came back with what he was talking about, and it was just the stuff that he told me in real life. Okay. It's not about, and this is important, and I want you to get this. Okay. We're not going to do any saxophone work today. We're going to talk about saxophone work. Henry, you want to get down? All right. It's not about how well you can play. It's not about you being picked out at the gig as being, oh, that guy who could really play that saxophone. Boy, he was really fast, or he was just a superhero on that saxophone. That's not what it's about at all. What it's about is you connecting with an audience, connecting with your bandmates, and allowing the audience to feel old memories, old loves, old whatever it is they have inside of them. You facilitate that. That's what art does. Art wakes us up to all of the possibilities that are inside of us, our emotions, our feelings, our fears, our joys. That's what we are to do as a saxophone player. So I want you to think about that and take that to heart, because that's what my friend Robert did with his harmonicas. He didn't blow a harmonica and make it sound like a blues guy trying to sound like Rice Miller or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? What he did was he played beautiful, beautiful, beautiful melodic lines. And I will never forget how his hand would reach out. Maybe it was the other one. I don't know which hand he held the harp with, but he would reach out to the other soloists and say, get into this with me. Get into this with me. Come on, right? An absolutely beautiful soul and a great teacher, and he's still teaching me to this day. I played a gig last night, and I had him with me in my heart and my mind, his lessons. One of the most important lessons I think that he taught me, that it was incomprehensible up until the very end, was he had a band, and it was a wild band, big band. I'm not going to mention the name because people in the hometown here might track it back and figure out who I'm talking about. But he had a sax player in his band who wasn't very good, and the other members said, "You got to get rid of this guy. This guy just isn't at our level of playing." And to the naked eye or naked ear, you might think that. I used to think that. I played many times with this fellow, and he had no chops. And in fact, he even told us he tried to get a lesson once, and the guy told him that he had no chops. He had absolutely no chops, but he did two things that nobody else does, all right, that nobody else was doing. He first of all, he dressed well. He showed up at the gig really dressed, all right, nice clothes. And the second thing he did was, again, he connected with an audience, and that's what my harmonica player band member saw in this guy. Now, he didn't have chops. He really couldn't play as well as, but he connected with an audience, and the audiences just loved him. They loved to see him coming. They loved to hear his lack of chops, but he could connect. When he blew with everything that he had. He blew 100% of whatever he had inside of him. And like my friend with the harmonica, he opened up things inside of people that they might not have been aware that were in there, right? In their emotions, their love, their courage, their kindness, whatever it was. I can't put words on it, but that's the beauty of what a musician can do with the instrument. So I want you to think about that, right? It's not about lines over 2-5-1s or how fast you can play or scales or any of that nonsense. Eventually, well, of course, you have to do those skill builders, but all the while, your solo is about, or your play, whatever it is. You might be playing Amazing Grace, a very simple song. Your job is to connect with whoever is listening. Your job is to connect with yourself emotionally, of course, but then connect with the listener. So after the dream, I woke up the next day, and I wondered, if it was, one of those dreams, right? And as it turns out, it was. I found out later that day that my friend had passed away that night. He had never left the ICU, never really regained consciousness after. So he got his wings and lives on with us in our hearts and in our minds. And that is the lesson that I want to share with you today, all right? It's really not about being the best sax player in the room. It's about being the guy who can connect emotionally. So you use your tools to tell a story, to paint a picture, right? And that's something that's personal, right? I can't teach you how to do that. Nobody could teach you how to do that. That's something that's really, really personal. And it comes from a lot of listening, right, to a lot of music. And there are a lot of wonderful people that you can listen to. I would suggest you crank up some Frank Sinatra on that Spotify of yours. And I would suggest that you listen to some, how about some Billie Holiday? All right, let's get some vocalists in your world, all right, and start listening to them. And how about, here I am on a saxophone channel advising you to listen to singers. How about a guitar player? How about you dial up some B.B. King at the same time, all right? Listen to some B.B. King, some Frank, some Billy. And there are many, many wonderful performers who are modern or playing right now and current that you can listen to that pack emotion. How about David Sanborn? I've never been a fan of his tone, but emotion, yeah, lots of it in every note. Michael Brecker, great tenor sax player. You might have heard the name. Why don't you look up Paul Simon still crazy after all these years, and listen to Michael Brecker's solo, all right? There you go. It's a wonderful piece. If you haven't heard it, turn this off and go do it right now. DGM-1 is your discount code for Zoom lessons. And these work for intermediate to advanced level players, all right? I can't take on beginners. Beginner sax players, you are so important. You need to sit down with somebody in a studio who can help you one-on-one, person-to-person. Dig? All right. Can't do it over the, over the little screen here. There are too many moving parts, too many variables that someone who's really good needs to guide you through. When you get up on that horse, give me a call. We'll do it. All right. We start out our Zoom lessons with a phone call. If you decide you want to go in this direction with me, we talk a little bit about where you are and where you want to be, and I figure out if I can help you. And if I can help you, and I can't help everybody. There are those of you who have called, and you're beyond my skill set. If I can refer you, I will. If not, I will politely shake your hand, so to speak, and say thanks for calling. But if I can help you, I'll build a lesson, and then we'll put some times together. And each Zoom session is 1 hour. Your discount code DGM-1 will get you through the month of January and save you a little money, which is a beautiful thing, right? And you can find out more at davegoodsax@gmail.com. All right, that's all I've got today. I'm sorry that we didn't have a playing lesson, but we kind of did have a playing lesson. And it's important that you think about these things. And I know that it's important. And I wish that my friend was still here to play with us. We have a gig on the 31st, and I know he'll be there, just not in a way that people can see. All right, have a great Sunday. All right, do good work, keep in touch, be kind to one another, and I'll catch you next week.